All right. So basically what I'm showing you is my midterm project. I have the main.cpp. I have two other files, person registration with their .h and .cpp. Um, for the most part, I think I referenced a lot of previous projects, mainly the order form and then other examples given by the professor. Um, in the person.h, it's similar to the order form. I have the Q string for the first name, last name, email in line, and then I have the voids for set all the strings to the Q string, and then for the person.cpp, it's pretty much a default constructor, nothing too much in there. Registration.h is where most of the file is, and then registration.cpp is where all the functions, all the widgets, all the forms, the validations, and registration.h. I included all these Q widgets, Q linets, Q list forms, push button validators. Down here, I have the Q widget parent, registration, and the destructor. I have set person for the person pointer. I had the slots for save all button, the submit and reset. I have the Q list person pointer and the Q line edit pointers, Q push button pointers, and the person pointer. I also have the these functions. Each of them they set the validation. They connect like the buttons, and then they set up the layout for the form. And then in the registration.cpp, I start with the Q widget parent. I set the window title and I place all the functions in here. As it since it's the parent, it pretty much has to know all the functions. Registration, the deconstructor pretty much left it alone. Right here, I put the validations. For the email to do the validation, it was pretty much a copy of what the professor gave me as an example. I went through email edit, new Q line, added, basically they can add from the letters to numbers. And then from there, you have to have an at symbol, and then it allows you to put for more letters or numbers. And then you have to have a dot, and then same thing over here. It's pretty much a .com. And then we set that as the validator. And for the both the first name and last name edits, I pretty much did similar things. I just added for the first letter to be capitalized and then the following letters to be lowercase, setting basically a a limit of how much characters are allowed. But it usually follows first with the capital letter and then the lowercase letters. For the form, pretty much did like a form layout, added some rows, added the Q push buttons, and then added the buttons with the rows. And then I set up the whole layout using the form layout right here. As for the buttons function, I pretty much connected all three buttons to their clicked and then their slots. So each of them go down and their function pretty much explains what they do. For the save all button, it gives the an if and else for pretty much the first name, the last name, and the email. As long as it has acceptable input, it it should allow you to save it. Pretty much set everything to text and then save it to a new person. For each and every one of them, if it doesn't meet the requirements, it'll give you an error. And I know for the name, if you don't start with the capital letter, it won't let you type in anything. As for right here, I put in person, new person, set everything to text, and then set that person for in person. And I have that one, that function should be right here. I set in person to the pointer, and then I appended it to the pointer list for the queue list. And then up here, after if you saved it correctly, it should give you a queue message box stating that the person's information was saved. As for the submit button, I took a different approach from the example given to me by the professor. I saw a YouTube video pretty much making it more simpler. I added a queue text string, and I had it to a for loop to iterate through the queue list, and I set the S to the queue list and starting at I, and then I set the queue string. I added a queue string reading all that is in the list, and if it was successful, it'll give you all information was submitted, and if it wasn't, it'll say failed to open, and then at the end, it should close the file. And then for the reset, it's pretty much I just reset everything to blank, and then when you run the program, so for the first name, it allows you to put a uppercase then following by lower cases. As for the email, if you try to click save, it gives you email format incorrect. And then if you want to reset everything, say you messed up, it'll just reset everything, allowing you to re-put it. And then when you click save all, it should save. And same thing with the submit, it should save. And so with this line right here, I pretty much added a text file to the midterm Qt file instead of creating a .text file as was shown in the professor's example. I just felt like it was much easier to understand this way. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I would say the only thing I messed up on was I'm not too sure if the list gets updated or not. Every time I check, it usually has like it has pretty much an address on it. I'm not too sure. I wasn't really able to figure it out.